Hello, and welcome to another edition of Turning Pages. We're about all things literary related, I would say. My co-host Margaret Porter and I have enjoyed over the course of the last many months bringing to our viewers all sorts of individuals connected with the literary world in various ways. Well, today's show is going to be a little bit different. I'm going to interview our co-host, Margaret Porter, on the occasion of the release of her 17th book. It's staggering, I know. I find myself saying, can I ever get to 17? But her latest book is called Sequins and Starlight. And I have loved it. I've already read it once, and I foresee a second reading in the very near future. Margaret's going to be next week on the 14th of May, at Gibson's Bookstore here in Concord, New Hampshire at 6:30. She'll be talking about the book, she'll be signing copies of the book, and she'll be exuding the special magic that she always exudes wherever she goes. And I can say that both as a friend and a huge admirer. So Margaret, welcome to our show, Turning Pages.
Thanks very much, Paul, and thank you for offering to interview me today about the release of Sequins and Starlight.
Mm-hmm. It is a wonderful book. It truly is. And I know that you say that about every one of your books, whether it's the Myrtle One, whether it's Beautiful Invention, whether it's Limits of Limelight, or the book, last year's book, which was, of course, A Change of Location. And a character from that book does appear and has actually a very prominent role in Sequins and Starlight, which I loved because I know you had mentioned that beforehand, but actually seeing it there on the written page, it felt perfect. It felt so right.
Well, thank you very much for the accolades. I do appreciate your support and the kind words you say about my books. The fact that Hannah and Martin returned to this novel is because when I was writing A Change of Location years ago, I had inserted a very minor character, Dan Wheeler, who was Martin Latimer's attorney, and I wanted to give him a story. I thought, oh, this is a potential next main character. And for some time I had wanted to write a book that was kind of the nexus between various forms of dance, like ballet, burlesque, and I decided that he would be the one that I would pair with that person. So as I was writing A Change of Location, I just planted a little bit of Dan in that book so that knowing that he would be much more developed in the follow-up, which is not directly a sequel, but Hannah and Martin from A Change of Location do return. And we do revisit Stanwell House, which is the house that, out in Somerset. So, yeah.
And writing this book, did it just feel natural and just like maybe coming home in some ways because of some of the locations and some of the things that occur seem so you?
Well, yes, I cannot deny. This book is in no way an autobiography, but there are a lot of my past experiences and activities embedded in this story. Primarily dance. I have danced ballet. I did dance ballet as a child and then all the way up into graduate school. Not professionally, like Ellie, but I was consistently dancing. And I have never done burlesque. I will admit now, I'm not a showgirl in that sense, but it has always, that whole form of artistry, which is what it is, has always interested me, and so I've read a lot of books about it. I've studied the history of it. I've seen movies about it. I have a friend who's a historian of burlesque, old-time burlesque, and now there's neo-burlesque, and so I was able to incorporate that interest. And then I was also a stage actress, and that is Ellie's aspiration in the book. I have not performed professionally in London, but I've seen many London theater performances, and I'm very familiar with London theater and sort of the background of professional theater and ballet in London and New York to some extent as well. So all of those things went into that, and then some aspects a little bit closer to home.
Well, Ellie is a wonderful creation. She is a wonderful character. She is instantly somebody you admire, respect. You know that she is passionate about what she does, that there's a certain ferocity in her energy that's wonderful. I mean, it makes you really, by the end of it, you really want to know even more about her. I mean, she is so vivid, and she just jumps out of the page at the reader.
Well, she is a special character to me. She is very motivated, very determined, very ambitious. Likes change, loves challenges, and going through, doing something, and then what's next for me, and then coming up with something else that's compatible with her personality and her talents. Ellie and Dan are, I hesitate to say this publicly because I don't know if it will ever happen, but I would really like to know what happens to them in future with regards to her career and his profession, and so I have toyed with the concept of what a sequel to this story might look like, picking them up a few years in when she reaches another professional crossroads, perhaps, because dancers and not actresses, but dancers do kind of age out of the profession and then have to make choices about will they teach or will they go into administration, as her friend Rafe has done in the book. And I'm just curious to know where the imagination and Ellie's motivations and desire for challenge might take us, her and me. But that would be, I'm going back to historical fiction. Yes. I am back in historical fiction, so that would be a later story. Yes. But I have so enjoyed writing these two contemporary novels.
And they're wonderful. They are absolutely matchless, and they're right up there. I mean, Myrtle Wand is especially perfect, I found. I read that 4 or 5 times. And of course, the one set in Hollywood I love because of that.
And I would like to do another Hollywood story eventually as well. I just haven't settled on. There's some actresses from Golden Age Hollywood who've been auditioning for me, but I have not yet made the decision. So in the meantime, I will go back to 18th century London, but I'll stay with theater and the performing arts for the next couple of books.
You writing about London is so obvious in here. You make it so alive. It's obvious how much it means to you and how much it means to your characters, because it's just, it's moving in some places. I mean, that just, you can feel the energy of London. And for any of us who have never been there, it feels as though we're being given an opportunity or a glimpse into what it would be like to be in London.
Well, I think I found London as a good match for Ellie, actually. She's been there before as an international burlesque star. She has performed there and is familiar enough with it. But for a young woman who is from New Hampshire, grew up in New Hampshire, went to New York to light up the ballet stage, and it didn't quite work out that way. So she never quite assimilated in New York in the same way that she finds it so much easier to do in London. And then meeting Dan Wheeler, an executive connected to Martin's business from A Change of Location, that certainly helps her get her footing, so to speak, for a dancer in the big metropolitan city.
Well, I mean, there's so many places and little parts that just stayed with me afterwards. I mean, I laughed out loud when I came to the part about everything's coming off roses. It just struck a nerve. And I love when they come to visit in New Hampshire. And Lake Winnipesaukee and the Mount Washington going by and Wolfboro and all of that. Of course, you're very familiar with that area, but writing about it and making it feel for the reader like someplace they want to jump in the car and immediately head off to, is a special gift because, it becomes such an important part of their story too, and that it's wonderful. It just runs the gamut.
It's I always wanted to I wrote a character, a New England character, in A Change of Location. Hannah was from coastal Maine, and the next one up just had to be a New Hampshire protagonist. So I put Ellie in New Hampshire, and she's from a town called Birchmont, which of course doesn't really exist, but it's sort of a Concord adjacent place. Her mother and aunt run a dance academy, and we've got those here in the area, of course. So I planted her in this general area, and though for those of us who live in the capital region, the lakes are nearby. Many people have summer places there, or went there as a kid, or their grandparents had a place, or just go up to enjoy the lake at one of the public beaches, or to take a ride on the Mount Washington. And so I was able to incorporate that part of New Hampshire that's very important to me and my family and my husband's family, where we have a long time connection there.
Do you find when you go to the lake, does it inspire you to write, or just to create in your head future stories?
All of the above. The cottage that we have is on the lake, and there's a big screened porch there. And that is basically my workspace. My brain and my muse are very, very happy there. My creativity is fostered there by being close to the water and watching the hummingbirds at the feeder and seeing all the green evergreen trees and just a sense of comfort. And I've written multiple books in that house, not always on the screen porch. When it comes into October, or it's late April or early May or something, it can be a bit chilly out there. So the sofa in front of the fireplace is just as good a place to write. But it's always been a good place for writing, and I've invited our mutual friend, author Virginia McGregor, has gone up there with me for writing days on occasion, and she finds it the same way. So that's gratifying to know, and affirming to know that it works that way for other people.
Absolutely. One of the things I especially noted and liked were the quotes that you used in various places. Everyone from Dame Margot Fonteyn, the legendary ballet star, to Cyndi Lauper. I loved how that set a tone for what followed. It really did, and it catches your eye, and you stop for a moment, you contemplate the quote before
and what's coming next.
Yes, exactly.
Yeah. Oh, good.
And that was great. When did you come up with that idea of doing that? Was that? I think it was probably part of the kind of the outlining process, or at least, I mean, the book was underway, and I knew what each section was, and they're described as there's an Act 1, an Act 2, and Act 3, which is theatrical and for theater and for ballet. Yes.
And so I knew which section, what would be in the sections, and what each section would say, and I love quotes. In some books, I have a quote at the start of every chapter.
Yes.
But for historical, I think that works better for historical fiction maybe than contemporary fiction. And so I wanted to have inspiring quotes, but also quotes that sort of previewed an aspect of what was going to happen to the character in the story. And each time I found when I found those quotes, it was like, okay, it's this one. The Cyndi Lauper one starts it out, and then there's an August Wilson one as well, and then there's a Margot Fonteyn one.
Yes.
And and I think there might be an Alicia Markova one as well.
There is.
Dame Alicia Markova is sort of she's a long dead, very famous British ballerina. She helped found English ballet.
Yes.
And so she's a presence in the story, and I found a quote that worked from her as well. So I think the epilogue might have a quote also. Anyway, so yeah, that's a fun part. It's always kind of fun to come up with, whether it's for a contemporary book or a historical book, to come up with the right kind of quote. It's a little bit of a not a game, a kind of a game I play with myself. If the writing's not going well, let's figure out what quote goes best with chapter 7 if I'm doing chapter quotes. So
Oh, that's great.
I enjoy doing that.
Oh, that's wonderful. And you have a glossary, which is
yes.
wonderful too.
That was, there's a lot of ballet terminology.
Yes.
And it's hard to define what ballet people are doing in the moment, but you try to give a sense of it through the text and through the narrative of the movements. And some movements, I think people might know what a plie is, where you bend your knees and you're turned out. But there's some more specific ones, and I just thought maybe to put some definitions in the back. If people are interested, they can find it. If they're, they can look it up on through Google or something like that as well. But I decided to lay it out.
But it's nicer that way to have it available in the moment.
And that was a challenge. Was making one reviewer said that the ballet part is appealing and accessible or something like that in the book, which that made me feel like I did my job, that it wasn't too technical.
No,
it was just enough to support the story and the character and the other characters and the environment of a dance morning class in a dance company, or the rehearsal process, or World Ballet Day, which is an annual event where all the ballet companies around the world let cameras in and they show their morning class, a rehearsal, perhaps they interview, go in the costume shop and watch people make tutus and things like that. So just trying to bring that world alive, but without belaboring it or making it confusing or too technical. And that was part of the pleasure of writing about it.
That's wonderful. Now, you incorporate some ballet into your daily exercise routine, right?
I do indeed, yes. I do the New York City Ballet workout, and I've done it for, goodness, I don't know, 10 years or something. I'm not sure. What I like about it is that I don't have to leave the house in the dead of winter and get in the car and drive and go to a class. And I'm pretty disciplined, to leave the house on a writing day. It really breaks up the day, and it breaks the concentration and the focus.
Yes.
I'm easily distracted. So so being able to do my exercise routine, which is a combination of ballet and Pilates, and I have an exercise bike as well and all that, but that's been my main workout for years, and I love that connection to a ballet class, like Ellie, who loves class.
Yes.
I mean, she just really loves it. Even when she's not professionally dancing, she always, wherever she is, wants to be part of the morning class. And it's that routine just gets embedded into your muscles, your mind, your whole body. And I've never quite lost that affinity for it. So that's been my way. And when you have a sedentary job like writing, it's really good to get up and move, or keep your muscles in tune.
And it gets the brain cells churning and the
it
thought
really
process
does.
going
Yes, it does.
in ways that other things would not.
Yes.
People say, I've got to have my cup of coffee. Well, if that's all they're relying on, without the movement and delight in the movement, then they're missing out, because who knows how they could expand that horizon.
Well, the caffeine is a quick rush.
Yes.
But the ballet workout is really a great way to jumpstart my day, or to end my day, and just sort of relax into the evening.
Into the evening. Wow. Well, it is, I hate to belabor it, but I just love this book. I'm enchanted by it. It truly is. And again, I want to remind people, on Wednesday, the 14th of May, you will be at Gibson's.
Yes.
And you will be signing copies, you'll be talking about it. And if you've never been to a Margaret Porter book event, you have to go, because it's more than just you reading a chapter or something from the book or something. You have an ability, as you do in your writing, to reach out and make each individual sitting there feel a part of this entire thing, and want to get the book and read it and know more about what you're talking about and have shared with them. And that's, a really wonderful, wonderful thing. So It's just, I encourage people, and the book is available now at Gibson's,
yes,
correct?
Today is the actual publication day, and I can attest that there is a stack of books on a front table in Gibson's, and they will have more for the event.
And if you're not able to get to the event, you'll be signing some copies and leaving them with Gibson's,
yes,
and people
copies.
can, because this is, I can't think of a better book to sit out in the sun on a chaise lounge with fresh air all around you and read during the summertime, because I think I'm going to read it once we get nice weather, which we're not having for those of you who are looking outside on the day that we're taping this. But it just is fun, and I could see it making a wonderful movie or television movie just because of the descriptions.
Well, I think someone sort of stole my thunder on that, because there's a new streaming series on Amazon Prime called Étoile, which is about two ballet companies, one in New York, one in Paris, and they decide to switch their principal dancers. And it's very well done. They had consultants who are professional dancers, and the producers of The Marvelous Mrs. Maisel are the creators of this, and they've had and also created Bunheads, which is a term for ballet dancers. That was a short-lived series as well. So they're very much able to present ballet, the reality of ballet. It's, and Ellie refers to this in the book, but a lot of times TV movies and Hollywood films take ballet, and they focus a lot on the traumas and the discipline and the sometimes harassment, sometimes the body shaming to meet the standard, or just like criminality practically, where people are putting broken glass in people's point shoes and things like that, and focus on the controversies, the cat fights, all those sorts of things, and which makes for good drama and makes for a good story. I can't deny that, but there's a lot of unrealistic aspect. I mean, it's not constantly like that. And then the opposite side, where it's just like a fairy tale, and someone walks into a ballet studio, never danced before, and then they get the lead part in Swan Lake or something like that. That's equally unrealistic. And there's a happy medium, and that was really my goal, a major goal for writing this book, was to show the struggles, but also the dedication that make the struggles seem less difficult than the hardships, because people in the profession, in the industry, whether they're the dancers themselves, the choreographers, the artistic directors, the costumers, the technical people, they really love it. They're so dedicated. It's not a highly paid profession. There are prospects of injuries for a dancer, a fairly short, relatively speaking, career, and it's just a kind of a magical world with also that has another side to it that's relies on professionalism and determination, discipline, dedication, and all of those things, and that's such an important part of it.
Well, to any viewers who have their ideas of the ballet world made from Turning Point, for instance, this is a much more complete and evolved story of the ballet world. It's much more interesting than that. Not that that wasn't a fun film and everything else, but it didn't really, once you've read this, you'll see, they didn't really capture it. They went for the drama, but they left out so much of the other intricate parts that are in your books.
Well, Turning Point is a good example. Black Swan is another, where it focuses on the rivalries more than anything for the drama, and which is great. I'm not going to complain about that, because I love ballet movies. I want people to keep making ballet movies and ballet TV shows, whether or not they're based on my book. But I think it's also important to promote or to speak to the higher aspects of the art and the technique and the whole business side of it as well. One thing you were mentioning, my talk at Gibson's. And the thing I
Yes.
love about doing author events, especially at Gibson's, because it's a local crowd and friends
Yeah.
and show up, but is the interest in the writing process that people have and the curiosity. If there are always writers in the group, but writers love to hear about how other writers do what they do. So that's it's always fun to share that. And then the specific aspects of the creation of this particular novel, but also just writing in general and what it's like and how different projects are different from other projects and timelines, and people always want to know how long did it take you to write the book, and usually by the time the book is published you can hardly remember how long it took you. It seemed like forever at one point, and then all of a sudden there's a finished book sitting on the TV studio table, and it's like, oh my gosh, wow, I can't remember when I started this book exactly. I think it was probably during the very final stages of a change of location, because I knew I was going to pick up right away and carry on with this story, and it might already have been outlined by the time a change of location came. Well, I'm sure it was outlined by the time a change of location came out, which was kind of sort of exactly a year ago.
Wow. Which is another wonderful book, and I urge viewers to check it out, or any of Margaret's titles, and a number of them are listed in this book. And every single one of those titles is worth a visit to the bookstore or Concord Public Library. Some of them are available there.
Yes, we need to support the library and
Yes,
mention them.
we
That's a
wanna
great
make sure.
resource for readers.
Yes,
And,
it is. It is.
And also, Gibson's has, you can access ebooks and audiobooks through Gibson's as well. And this book is
great.
available as an ebook, not as an audiobook, not yet anyway, but it is also as an ebook for people who prefer to read on their tablets or their phones or whatever it might be these days.
And there is a Margaret Porter section at Gibson's,
Well,
where
in
a number of your
NP,
titles.
yes.
Yes.
Sequins and Starlight was on a front table today, but and a change of location, I believe, is shelved in the romance section also. But the historicals are definitely in just the regular book section, which is nice.
Yes, it is. It's always gratifying.
But people, I know appreciate Gibson's, and as authors, we certainly appreciate Gibson's as a supporter of local authors, as a supporter of aspiring writers. Their cafe is a great place for people to sit and
the energy
and
in
write
there
and drink coffee and catch up with one another. And we're just so fortunate to have a place like that. And I think of friends of mine, fellow authors, that maybe don't have something like that. It's too bad. Every writer should have a Gibson's in their life.
It is. It just reaffirms why you do what you do. And speaking of which, what is next on the horizon for Margaret Porter?
Well, I've got 2 historical novels that are set in 18th century Britain in the theatrical world, focused on they're biographical novels focused on real performers. And I've, as a theater history person, frequent attendee of the theater and loving performing arts and loving writing about performing artists, I'm going to write those. And then after that, maybe I'll get back to Dan and Ellie, or maybe it will be something else that hasn't occurred to me yet. I'm not sure. But thank you for asking, and thanks for your interest, as always, and your kind words about my work.
Well, I love it. I'm sorry I was so late in coming to it. In 2018, it took me until
that when we met? Oh, my
7
goodness.
years.
Yes.
So, excuse the allergies. It's that time of the year. But, excuse me. We're almost out of time.
Well, thank you for interviewing me on our show.
Our show.
And also for the many times that you had me and other authors on Capital Area Chats, which is why we did the spin-off to do this show, which is specifically about books and authors and publishers and maybe librarians and other things related to books in this area.
And it's already been great fun doing it, because I've heard from so many people who love the mix that we have on there and the nice balance that we create. And I think we make everyone feel comfortable and relaxed, and we always find out things we may not have even known from them. So that
Exactly.
makes it wonderful.
Well, we've got some good ideas for upcoming shows. So,
Yes, we
yes, looking forward to that. Yes.
So we will be back as co-hosts very soon with another edition of Turning Pages. But for now, it was an honor to interview my dear friend and much admired author, Margaret Porter, today on Turning Pages. And I want to thank Matt, the man behind the scenes. I want to thank Josh in Concord TV, and all of you out there who pay attention and watch and let us know you're watching. And thanks also to Gibson's, where Margaret will be on the 14th of May at 6:30 in the evening. Be there, please. Thank you again, and thank you, Margaret.
Thank you, Paul.